What follows is for news and entertainment purposes only. Any use of the forthcoming information in violation of any federal, state, or local law is prohibited. Mike North, you are on fire.
You know anybody else that good?
No.
No, they'll tell you they are. They may think they are, but we're documented every single week. The eye is on us.
That's
and I ain't
right.
talking about the eye of CBS, the public eye. The first feeling I got when I won a bet was elation. The worst feeling was when I lost a bet and I wanted to jump off a balcony.
Give me a quick betting tip.
Yeah, do win and don't lose, but usually it doesn't always work out that way. How many times you heard this? I'm going to Vegas. I go, how'd you do? Well, if I lost $4,000, but you go there to have fun. No, you go there to win. And that's what's wrong with people. They have the negative mentality in anything they do, including sports, before they even laid the bet down. So you got to be positive. Vegas Scores and Odds is the landing place that gave me an opportunity to handicap. They let me show what I could do, and there's packages, there's free picks. What does Vegas Scores and Odds do when you perform? They reward you, and they take care of you, and that's why we're ready to do this show.
Vegas Scores and Odds presents the Mike North Advantage, and it begins right now. That's right. The Mike North Advantage starts right now. I am Aldo Gandia, Mike's wingman, and if it is Wednesday, that means it is VegasScoresandOdds.com presents the Mike North Advantage, and Mike will give you 3 free picks for tonight's action. We can't wait to hear those, and we're also going to talk about the Cubs and White Sox and Bears and get Mike's thoughts on what's happening with those 3 Chicago sports teams. And we're going to play a game with Mike. It's called Hug a Somebody today. We'll explain later, but first, let me welcome him in. Mike North, how are you, my friend?
How are you, Aldo? It's good to talk to you. A hug of somebody day. Haven't I been in enough trouble already that you have to put the cherry on the sundae, my friend? No, seriously, ladies and gentlemen, let me get to the sponsors. Let me take care of Vegas Scores and Odds on the great Bears Barroom Radio Network, ladies and gentlemen. Punch this number in 1-800-808-3419. Right now, because football's coming up. I'm winning. I won last night. Not football, baseball. Had game 2, Detroit. Over the White Sox, asking them to continue winning on the road. I said, you know what? The system tells me to take Detroit. I did. We get a win last night. We got more up. Plus, we got 3 free picks brought to you by Vegas Scores and Odds at VSAO. We're building the Twitter base. Just no different, folks, than when, and I think it's been about a year now almost that I've been with Bears Barroom. I think the first time I was on, I remember I was on one of the other shows with Jordy Nelson, and we were arguing about Robinson. It's, you know what? And since that time, folks, because of all the hard work done, bringing in sponsors, and all the hard work from everybody at Bears Barroom, we've gone from 4,800 Twitter followers in a year to almost now going to be in the upwards of 10,000 soon. We're building, we're growing, and that's what we're doing. And that's what we're doing for Vegas Scores and Odds, because they got great handicappers like John Anthony, Dennis Macklin, Tony Sacco, Ray Monahan, and me. You know that. I don't mind tooting the horn. You know what? I'm tooting my own horn. Nobody else going to toot it for me. I'm getting it done. Check out the homepage at VegasScoresandOdds.com for the tote board. I'm second all-time with my picks. I'm first all-time with 1,503 wins, which, if I was a Major League pitcher, I'd be up there with Ruth and Cobb. Anyway, pick packages ranging from daily to weekly to monthly. Or how about, here, dial up 1-800-808-3419. Those picks, you can dial it up now, 1-800-808-3419. And maybe my 3 picks are up there already. Aldo, I missed you. Last week I was at your crib, at the studio, and I invited myself before the show back next week because we got, not only do we get good stuff and good gab over the phone, but I loved it out there. We did the Periscope thing, and that's what everybody's been doing at Bear Barroom this week at training camp.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun sharing some images from Bears camp. Some of them, sometimes a couple of times we got yelled at by Bears security, but we adhere to the rules for the most part and let people know.
Do I have to make an appearance parents out there. They're yelling at us.
Yes, that's right.
They're yelling at us.
They hate it when we show the 11 on 11, and so we really didn't do that. We were just kind of focused on close-ups and stuff like that. But they're trying to be secretive about their game plan, and you can't blame them for that. But hey, I'm of the school where Vince Lombardi would show everybody, we're going to sweep left, and you try to stop us. So who cares?
Doug Buffone used to tell me, this is the truth. Doug said to me, when we played the Packers of the 60s, Forrest Gregg, we had been out with the Packers on Saturday night, and Forrest Gregg would be looking up at me. And he goes, we're running the sweep to your side, Doug. And it gained 5 yards. They knew it was coming.
That's right.
They all knew it was coming. 1 out of every 4 plays, 1 out of every 3 plays, they would run the sweep left, run the sweep right, have Jim Taylor carry the ball up the middle for 6 yards. You didn't know. See, the thing about the running game back then, Lombardi, you didn't know where the power sweep was going, right or left, and it could go either way. And then you had a battering ram up the middle, and then you had a very accurate passer in Bart Starr. So, I mean, it all worked, man. That's when the running game used to set up the passing game instead of the other way around now.
Yeah, how about it? Game has changed tremendously, but I still don't get why so many NFL coaches are so secretive about what they are doing. You still have to stop man versus man, mano versus mano. A lot of these guys already know just from film study, but I don't think that anything that we post on social media is going to be used to help another team, but maybe I'm wrong. It would be interesting to get Matt Nagy on our show and let him explain it to us.
Well, I'm going to tell you this right now, and I watched all the great work the Bears Barroom did from training camp, also the stuff that everybody else is doing, from Joey to Braggs to all the guys out there, to Tooch, all the shows, and I'm watching all this stuff, and I'm saying to myself, they go, look at this catch by Wims, and look at this guy. Yeah, they're beating Fuller. You think I'm happy about that? I'm not. I mean, we're beating our own guys. I mean, you know what I want to see? Here's what they do at Bears camp, and this is everybody, folks. This is everybody from Bears Barroom to WSCR, to AM 1000, to all the TV stations, Channel 2, 5, 7. They show you most of the bombs that are connected. They never show you the interceptions. They never show you a lot of defensive plays. It's all about the bombs, and that's what I saw this week. But you know what? I know the defense has been holding its own from reports I've been getting not only from Bears Barroom, but from other people right now.
Oh, my goodness. This Bears defense is just incredible. In fact, I got a soundbite here from Khalil Mack. He was asked by your buddy and mine, Mark Potash, about this defense and, their improvement in practice.
And it is just training camp, but does what you've done so far as a unit, does that give you any more idea that maybe you can be even better than you thought when you came in?
And that's the point. That's the point of emphasis, man. Not really focusing on last year, but just continuing to come out and work on the little things and get better as a group. And the little things could be running to the ball and getting off a block sooner and all those different intangibles that you need as a defensive unit. Still got the same group of guys out there almost, you know what I mean? The same energy, the same effort. And, the play call can't really change that, you know what I'm saying? And that's the beautiful thing about this group.
That's what he's saying. He is saying that it doesn't matter that Vic Fangio is no longer there. The play calling isn't going to make that big of a difference for this defense because they've got the talent, and it starts with Khalil Mack.
I'm going to believe him because here's what happened. When Pagano got hired, he was smart enough to say, I'm not changing anything. In other words, I got the best race car. I'm not changing the tires on it. I'm not changing the steering wheel. I'm not changing anything about the car from the color of it to the driver. Okay? Smart. That didn't happen when Vince Tobin came. In fact, the Bears had a better defense statistically than the 85 Bears did.
Right.
But you know what they didn't have? The fear factor. They became a zone team. They didn't blitz. Vince Tobin wanted to put his own stamp on it because he felt we have the athletes, but he changed the scheme of the defense from the 46 to vanilla, and it didn't matter what kind of stats we had during the regular season. His defense was not, and I'm saying this to Bear fans, was not built to win playoff football, and Ryan's was.
Yeah, well, because Ryan did an excellent job of pressuring the quarterback and disrupting timing and so forth. And you're right. Vince Tobin had a defense that started to become predictable. And while they may have had the stats, I think that was more due to the talent of the personnel in 1986 than it was the scheme. And so I think
you got Wilbur Marshall going back on pass coverage.
Yeah.
Where the year before, 50% of the time, he's a mad dog coming in as quarterback. The same with Otis Wilson. Now, if Pagano decided to change the defense, you wouldn't hear Khalil Mack talking about that. But see, I remember Pagano saying last year when he got hired, I'm not going to change nothing. This almost reminds me of Barry Switzer when he came to become the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and Troy Aikman thought it would be a good idea when he came in, but he said he was the laziest coach. He didn't do anything. He didn't step in when there were player problems. They did win the Super Bowl off talent, but that was the end of the line. Okay, so I like that Pagano's going to leave well enough alone, but he's still going to have to make some pertinent calls, and hopefully he'll make the right ones.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he's already started to clue us in that he's going to blitz more often than Vic Fangio did. I think that Fangio blitzed a little below the NFL average, and Pagano has a history of blitzing above the NFL average, and he's got the horses to have an effective blitz with the Chicago Bears. It will be interesting to see if this defensive backfield can play that type of coverage that allows the blitzers to blitz.
Well, I hear that our defensive backfield right now doesn't look all that good. Now, I don't mind. Look, Fuller got beat, but they were nice passes. But he got beat twice in 2 days, and it was all over social media because they were praising the guy receiving the ball.
Right.
And I'm saying to myself, well, what's number 23 doing behind him? You know? I mean, seriously, we're beating our own guys, but that's okay because Mitch was throwing a nice football. So, you know, I'm encouraged by the Bears. I don't have a problem. They seem like they're strutting. I heard Ed Reed at the Hall of Fame say basically talked about safeties that should get in, and he also threw Eddie Jackson a prop by saying of the crop today, you know what? He looks like a big-timer, but he says it's only 1 year. Let's see if he can stay consistent. So he gave that caveat.
Yeah, and wasn't it great when Ed Reed also talked about those little things that can make a player great? The things like cleaning up your locker room, about being a leader, not being a follower, all those little things that he was encouraging young players like Eddie Jackson to do, which also correlates with what Matt Nagy has been telling the team, because he read some book called Legacy, and it had some ideas on how to be great, go from good to great, and it basically said the same thing. Don't let other people keep your stuff clean. Do it yourself. That's a good way to start the bed. It's like that military guy that made a speech that went viral on social media. He said, "Start the day by making your bed. You're going to feel great about it, and you're going to start in the day with an accomplishment." It kind of makes sense to me.
Well, I'm a failure. I haven't made my bed in about 30 years. He does that. But and by the way, I threw a spitball today. You know, crunched up some paper because I was prepared, and I missed the waste paper basket. It's still sitting there. So, you know what? I'm ashamed of myself. I'm a damn slob. But you know what? Look, contribute, keep your house clean, do what you gotta do. You know what I mean? But you know, I mean, I'm being just straight up. Here's the thing I want from Ed Reed. I want that hat. I want his hat.
How about
it's the coolest hat I've ever seen. It's a gold hat with like a metallic metal brim. Did you see it?
Yes, I saw it. It was awesome.
Look it. Can I tell you something? That's his look. If I put that on, believe me, I'd be arrested just walking across the street. They think something was wrong with me. But Ed Reed is one of my favorite players.
Yes.
And I just can't imagine. I've always wondered how much him and Ray Lewis hung out. Two different players, two great players,
right.
But one was a little bit different.
Yeah.
And Ed Reed, to me, was the best Raven of them all. I think he's one of – and you know what he said? He said, you know, I want to be the best safety ever, but with due respect to Ronnie Lott. Screw that. He's as good as Ronnie Lott was.
I agree.
He's as good as Ronnie Lott is. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And how about that Hall of Fame buster?
And may we also say that that head is not available online.
You caught me.
I didn't do it last week because I was afraid you were right there.
That's right. You didn't do it last week.
I didn't do it last week. You gave me a Diet Coke. I felt bad. Okay.
Well, next week when you're over, you gotta do it. I want to see your expression.
By the way, you know what? The training camp thing is fun. It's a good time. Twitter and social media, they bring you involved. I listen. I love how the radio stations go every Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something. When I went to Platteville, it was for a week.
I know.
And we never went home. We never went home. The score stayed. We stayed the whole week. Now I hear they go. Some of the stations go one day and leave. Let me tell you another story. When we first started going to Bourbonnais, I didn't come home after the shows. I stayed at the Holiday Inn Express for a damn week. and I was at the bars. The bar you were at, Donlands and the others.
Yes,
I was at them all.
I'm surprised I didn't see an autographed picture of you at Donlands.
Oh, did you? Yeah, believe me, and I'll tell you, the other place, they used to have captain ships and sailors. It's a game, and I used to go there every night and get involved in these big money. It was a lot of fun over there. Bourbonnais is pretty cool. All kidding aside, I enjoyed my time at Bourbonnais. I really did. I think Platteville, you had more access, of course, to the players, but in Bourbonnais, there's a time when they go out too. So, you just got to keep your wits about you. Keep an eye out.
I saw your co-host out there, Carmen DeFalco of ESPN 1000's The Odds Couple, one of the hottest shows on broadcast radio right now. It is a must-listen every Friday
buddy.
at 6 p.m. With an encore
And I'll tell you,
performance.
DeFalco, I want to apologize to Bookie Priest. Made an appearance this week, and he's been trying to refurbish a parish out in the west side, Our Lady of Potential Agony, and he basically also got in trouble for dropping some communion wafers, but he did a little PSA for all the platforms I'm on, Bears Barroom, AM 1000, and he called Carmen DeFalco Carmen DiGiorno, so I got to talk to Carmen about that. That was, but other than that, it was good, but he's starting to lose it.
The Pope.
He was just... He's right now. He's in flux. I mean, look I don't know if he wants to continue to be a priest. But the other night there was a ball game coming on at 7:00. He was supposed to be at last rites at 6:45 for this person that was dying, and he didn't leave till 7:30. So I think when he got there, the person died already.
Make sure you follow Mike on Twitter. He's very active on there. It's North with a number 2 in between both names. And I'm telling you, he puts up tons of fun stuff, including the Bookie Priest and lots of other betting advice and commentary.
He's a little jealous. He's envious. He doesn't like you. He told me. He goes, I don't even know the guy, and I don't like him because he's identified with you. We got a little, right now we're having a little problem.
Maybe I'll go to confession over at the Bookie Priest's, and maybe he'll...
he'd love to hear your confession.
Yeah. I can imagine the penance he's got in store for me.
Well, it was disturbing. I mean, he did a confession about, from what I'm hearing, 3 weeks ago, and there was one, it was taking a while. Mm-hmm. And then his door opened and some woman ran out. These are things I'm hearing. I don't know.
Hey, I got a soundbite.
He's a character.
He truly is. I got a soundbite from Virginia McCaskey that I wanted to play for you. This is from the NBC Sports Chicago podcast. Just go over to NBC Sports Chicago, and you can get J.J. Stankovitz's interview with Virginia McCaskey. And J.J. asked Virginia, what was George Halas like when he would get home? And this was her response.
He was still on the phone or thinking about some things that would make a difference, trying to work extra jobs just to support the family because there certainly wasn't the income as far as the football team was concerned. When you read about the early championships and the payoff per player was $210. It was a completely different world.
How about that, Mike? He would come home, get on the phone, start working, looking for extra jobs, trying to manage the team, because back then, the $200 for winning the NFL championship was an amazing story, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the players were underpaid, and they were drawing $45,000 for 8 games. And the famous Mike Ditka hail us through nickels around like sewer covers. Here's basically what she was saying. He was never home. Okay? He was never home. And you know what? I'm not going to make fun of that, because a lot of times my dad was never home. But he wasn't working the phones, and he was, I mean, George Halas was a major celebrity.
Yes.
In Chicago.
Yes. Very true.
And by the way, the Bears' offices were down on Madison Street downtown back in the day. They didn't have their offices or a training facility. I remember when they were working out on Lakeshore Drive.
Yeah, that's
over
right.
by Montrose.
Yep. A lot
I mean, you could actually drive, get off at Foster, go down Simmons Drive. It would be unannounced, but if you had gone down there that day, there's the Bears practicing.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable how archaic it was and how up to date it is now.
It really is unbelievable. I was at Bourbonnais, and I see what this team and this organization and the whole entire NFL industry, what it's become. It truly is special. I remember the very first Super Bowl, and it was telecast on 2 networks, and the ratings were still kind of so-so, and just the growth of this league has been phenomenal.
By the way, it's been so... Oh, yeah. I mean, George Halas, look, I respect the man. Without him, we don't have the game. And she was very lovely in how she put it, and there's no doubt he had to work. But here's what I do know. He didn't put the team up for sale. They knew what they had here. TV brought it into its zenith.
Yeah.
They say 58 made it was the greatest game ever. No, it was just the first TV ever. I don't think the game was particularly all that good between the big horse, Alan Amici, and the Colts against the New York Giants. But it ushered in TV, and I think that's when the penny started, turning into dollars for Mr. Halas. So, hey, God bless him, man, and look at the league now. I think if he came down now and he got a chance to talk to the higher-ups in the league, there'd be about 10 to 15 changes made, including more physicality. I think he'd also be astute to changes. George Halas was considered out of date in 1960, in the 60s, and then he won in 63. So... he proved the doubters wrong. He's one of the great NFL coaches of all time. He was a player. He also played for the New York Yankees.
That's right. Yeah.
I think he played right field. And I believe Babe Ruth took his spot, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm just going off the top of my head, as you know, Aldo. I don't. Yeah. Maybe somebody could check that out for me.
I will check it out right now. And let me also tell you that
Babe Ruth.
While I'm looking at that, I'll tell you this. I heard.
You want me to eat up some time?
Yeah, well, go ahead. But I was gonna say that the McCaskey children, when your buddy Mike McCaskey was in charge of the team, they wanted to sell the team. They thought that well, enough of this, and he was doing such a terrible job of running the organization. I heard a story where they wanted to bail and take their money and run because they were unhappy.
Well, yeah, because they got to split it like 8, 9 different ways, and you think everybody wants to watch the McCaskey family continue to own the team in their family? You don't think there's some dissenters? I mean, just look at your family. My mother bought a building with my aunt, and they used to squabble whether they should sell or not. So imagine 7 or 8 kids. And by the way, the team fell into their lap because Muggs Halas died.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that never happens. He died, and by the way, folks, he died at the age of 54. So he was a young man. And George Halas never accounted for that he would lose, his son would die at that age.
That's amazing.
Definitely. So it's an amazing story. It really is.
Well, and what's amazing, too, is your memory, because indeed, Babe Ruth was the man who replaced George Halas in right field.
Now, how cool is that, though?
That is something else.
Now, how great an athlete was George Halas? I mean, we talk about it, and I get it. We talk about Bo Jackson. We talk about Dion. We talk about Dave DeBusschere, 2 sport athletes. I don't know how good George had. He was a mediocre hitter, a good defensive player. But to be replaced by Babe Ruth, and plus the guy fought in the war, was in the Navy. I delivered his paper, the Chicago American, over there at the Edgewater Beach Apartments. The guy's a legend, man. And by the way, him and Peyton are going to have a statue dedicated to them, long overdue, him and Walter, I believe September 3rd.
Yeah, isn't that great? What a fabulous honor to both of those guys. That is really cool.
Yeah, to pick those two guys, you know. I've always thought teams should have, like, another area where just, like, fan favorites or ordinary players would get statues. Like Doug Plank, you know. He was
I love that.
You know, some guys that were good, like Dennis McKinnon, you know, just players that were good but didn't, you know, hit the big time as Dutch as guys on the team that were there already, like Hampton and the Fridge and McMahon.
Hey, somebody in the chat room, who is this? T-Dog. T-Dog wants to get your opinion on this whole Antonio Brown situation where apparently he was getting some cryotherapy where they freeze a portion of your body because it's...
He's a moron. What a moron. You want to know, you know what this not... First of all, the feet. His feet are his most valuable asset. You're supposed to have a pair of special socks. He didn't put the socks on. Then they show the bottom of his feet. It looks like he's got he's a leper. And now we find out he's got frostbite, severe. You can lose toes.
Exactly.
You can lose. I mean, who knows what's going on right now? But I don't think we've heard the last of this. And really, how much of a dope are you? How stupid can you be? How much of an idiot are you that you would jeopardize yourself unless he never used it before? And if he never used it before, he should have had a trainer with him, and he should have known what was going on.
Yes, apparently it took place in France, so the guy was probably telling him.
Of course it did, because he probably had to. What was he in the Tour de France? What's he doing? they bring these things with them. He probably figured, I can't find my socks. I don't think I need them.
I got this picture of the French technician telling him in French, to leave your socks on. I'm going to leave the room and turn on the machine. And Antonio Brown doesn't understand French. He takes his socks off and gets into the machine and has his toes frozen off.
Unbelievable, man. I mean, you pray for the guy, but you know what? This is an example. I'm sorry, folks. Everybody blamed Big Ben. Everybody blamed, the coach. Everybody was afraid to challenge Antonio Brown. I already said he's never going to have the years that he had without Big Ben. And you know what? They showed on Twitter the other day 3 of his kids going, "Where's Roethlisberger?" The little kids.
Oh, really?
And he goes, "Well, I got a new quarterback this year," and they're looking at him. The kids even know he made a mistake.
Wow. Isn't that something? Hey, T-Dog says, you nailed it. He couldn't agree with you more. You hit it right on the head, as always.
He's an idiot.
Yeah.
Why are we coddling these? Look, they kissed his ass all through last year. The guy didn't want to even play. He sabotaged their year. Now he goes to this joint, and he's screwing that team up now.
The Oakland Raiders, that's right.
The way he's not. Are you kidding me?
That's unbelievable.
And the media's like afraid to put their hands on the guy, to touch the guy. He was a distraction last year, a distraction this year, and I don't see this being good. I don't.
I'm with you on that. This is not a good start for his career at Oakland. That is for sure. And again,
just when I think I'm the dumbest guy around, this guy shows up and I read that stuff. My God.
And again, the Raiders.
Sometimes people make you think like you're a genius.
Yeah, really.
I played golf this morning. I go, it's a little chilly. I better wear the heavier socks. This guy's going in some chamber of death, some frozen chamber like he's up in Superman's planet, the Fortress of Solitude, and he has no socks on.
Raiders go away and trade Khalil Mack, who was probably the smartest, best teammate, leader to have on a squad, and then they spend tons of money on guys like Antonio Brown. Don't ask me to explain it.
I mean, I'm just going to tell them. They might, and I'm going to be honest, my old pal, they might have to coax Jordy Nelson out of retirement again for that $1 million to give him 63 catches, because they're signing guys for trillions of dollars. They don't even know. I mean, they don't even know whether they should wear socks or not. It's weird.
I think Jordy would have known to wear the socks and probably speak French too. So,
do you think, honest to God, do you think, I know that it's a current thing, but I'm sorry. If I was one of the most gifted guys on the planet, and I was so good in grammar school, then I was so good in junior high, and then I was so good in high school, and then I was so good in college, and then I was really, really super and making 100 catches a year in the pros, the last thing I'm saying is, bring the refrigerator over. I want to freeze my feet off. What the hell is going on?
All right,
I'm sorry, Aldo. That's just plain stupidity, and they'll gloss over it. Oh, they'll be feeling sorry. I don't have enough room in my head for this guy. I don't.
Well, to all the listeners who may be offended by the fact that we're laughing at somebody's expense because they hurt themselves, who cares?
That's right. I'm sorry. You know what? This is mano a mano. And, you know, the Oakland Raiders, I mean, it just seems like, and if you're Gruden, what are you thinking?
Oh, my goodness. He's got to be.
Because I didn't watch that show, Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
I don't watch, you know, I love it. Radio guys watch that show and then talk about a TV show the next day. It's unbelievable. Have an imagination. You got plenty of sports to talk about, boys.
Yeah, you're right about that. All right, and we got plenty of Chicago baseball to talk about, including the fact that the White Sox just beat the Detroit Tigers 8-1. But before we talk Chicago baseball, that's right, it is time. Vegas Scores and Odds presents Mike North's 3 picks. Mike, take it away.
My guy Aldo Gandia, ladies and gentlemen, gets it done. We get it done at Bears Barroom. 1-800-808-3419 for Vegas Scores and Odds. VSAO. Check out the homepage. I'll tell you what, we got some of the best guys around. We got great handicappers. Let me just read over a few things real quick before we end up going and doing the picks here. And I know you want me to get to the picks, folks, but I will get to them. And don't forget, we're going to have our podcast on, like Aldo says. He always puts it up about a half an hour right after the show. It's going to be outstanding. It's going to be good. And I'll tell you what, you'll get these picks. And last week, I can't remember. I think I was 1-2. I said that. Or 2-1. But to be honest with you, it doesn't matter, because we're 9 above 500 or we're 10 above 500. Any way you want to look at us, I got to keep better track, but I got so many things going on, you know, plus the fact that I went over last week with Aldo's house. We had a great time. I threw caution to the wind, to be honest with you, folks. All right, here we go. Don't forget, John Anthony, 4-0 this week, the last 7 days. Tony Sacco, 4-0. Bryce Bell, 1-0. Okay? The last 30 days, Mike North second, 20-16. All-time, Mike North 15-02, 13-08. But right now, I'm not one of the top 4 guys. NFL, I'm 4th all-time, 220 and 191. And don't forget last year, folks, with Bears Barroom, which is now the proud network of Vegas Scores and Odds and a bunch of other shows, we were 18-1-1. We were making history. Nobody's ever started out that hot. Nobody. I never heard of anybody going, hey, did you hear about that handicapper out west? What? He went 19-1. Never heard that. 18-1-1, documented, ready to go. So we're ready to go with the picks, and Aldo's going, dear Lord on high. Aldo's on his knees. He's praying with the rosary. Believe me when I tell you to please make a pick. That's all I want. And I'm going to make a pick right now, ladies and gentlemen. And first, our first pick, Aldo, you still there? I just want to make sure.
I am still here.
Right.
And
want to make sure.
everybody in the
Don't
chat
worry,
Everybody in the chat room has their pencils and scorecards ready. They want your picks.
Attention, please. Get your pencils and scorecards ready, and I will give you the correct lineup for today's ballgame. Remember Pat Piper?
Oh, of
he
course.
was the best.
Absolutely.
I love it. Kessinger. Never mind. Okay, here we go. First of all, tonight, the New York Yankees. I watched them the other night, and I know that them in Boston got that thing going. I know they're good and everything else. Here, I'm just going to let everybody know this. The New York Yankees are 74-39. That's 1950s Yankees. That's 1927 Yankee stuff, folks.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge. I don't know. Aaron Boone. I mean, I thought their team was good, but I did not think it's this good. And they're playing Baltimore tonight, and they're minus 250 on the road. You know what that means? Don't even show up if you're Baltimore, but they got to because there's going to be people. Okay? There's going to be people coming to the game, and they're minus 250. So, first of all, take the New York Yankees. It's a 6:05 game, okay? Then we have a team that is, you know what? Yelich got 4 hits last night. They're not going to go away. The Cubs have been getting some injuries and stuff like that. But you know what? The Brewers, their relief pitching's been giving up on them lately. The Cubs swept them, which was great. They got a guy named Pomerantz going tonight. They're minus 119 versus the Pirates. Take the Brewers, minus the 119, over the Pittsburgh Pirates. So that's 2 favorites. And you go, well, Mike, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do to top that? Well, this is an 8:40 game, folks. And the Philadelphia Phillies with the 246 hitting Bryce Harper, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, I'll tell you, $300 million buys you that, huh? They're playing the Arizona Diamondbacks. Decent club, but I think that, you know what, they're 500. The Phillies are still 59-54. But the Diamondbacks are minus 141. I like the Philadelphia Phillies. I like them on the run line, minus 166. But if you want to take them on the money line, too, instead of the run line, I think they'd give them a go for their money there. Minus 166 at plus 1.5, or minus 141. Or maybe you could play them both. But that's it for tonight, folks. The Yankees, the Brewers, and the Phillies, brought to you by Vegas Scores and Odds. Back to you, my friend.
Good stuff there, Mike North.
I covered it like a blanket. I almost sounded like I knew what I was doing.
Well, you do.
How do I miss you? I got to be close to you. I'm coming out next week.
I can't wait. I
might even bring over some food.
Oh, food. Oh.
Yeah, I might have to bring over some food.
No.
Maybe some cookies, too.
I'll have some food for you. Don't
Succinctly, very quickly, with 3 words, which forces you to get right to the point.
Wait a minute. What's
on your
this?
teams.
Why was that guy talking? I don't know why that guy was talking.
You know what? I'm telling you, that damn Google, they're listening to us again. They want picks like everybody else.
They sure do. Steven
Listen,
Zimmerman.
I have one of those speakers that you put up when you play iTunes and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, one of those speakers
Sure.
with the woman talking? The other night, the thing was talking to me. I'm scared.
The Alexa or whatever those things are called.
I heard some guy just like that. How you doing over there? I'm going, yeah. I shut it off quick.
Heart 4803 wants to know if I'm going to have that half-eaten Italian beef sandwich. Remember that?
You know what? That was one of the low points of our fantastic friendship. When Aldo says, here, I had a lady say to me at the hot dog stand one time, can you cut my hot dog in half? I cut it the long way. She didn't find that funny. But then when you said you wanted Italian beef cut in half, I said, listen, he grew up in Humboldt Park. You know what? He had to run for his life half the time.
That's right.
I'm not going to get on the guy about that.
That's right. You know, I'm a light-skinned Puerto Rican, so I was running away from the white gangs and the Puerto Rican gangs. That's why I stayed home and read my books.
Somebody said to me, when they thought I was going, one of my buddies said, you know, you might end up going to Vietnam. I go, We lived in Uptown. Park, don't worry.
That's right.
Everything will be fine.
Exactly.
Man, thank God I didn't go. But, everything was fine. But we're having some fun today.
Absolutely.
This show is going a mile a minute, isn't
It really is. We're already 40 minutes in. And Steven Zimmerman wants to know if you've got a pick for that Bears game tomorrow or just overall thoughts on Bears and Panthers.
So let me go to the line. Let me go check. Hey, Zim, appreciate that very much. Aldo, what Zim wants to know. Let's get it together. In fact, you know what? I might make some picks tonight and send them into Vegas Scores and Odds. Let me see. There's a ton of games tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen.
Indeed.
And I'm glad that Zim brought it up. The Bears are -3 against the Panthers at Soldier Field. Now, here, preseason, go light. In other words, if you put 100 down on usually on a pro game, put 25. It's a preseason game, but get your feet wet if you want. I don't think, they're not going to play a lot of starters. It's a lot of fun to watch because, we get to see some of the prospects we've been seeing,
right.
on social media and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would take the Panthers because, to me, it seems like an automatic to the Bears, but I wouldn't take it for a whole lot because the Bears, remember, Khalil Mack and all those guys, the days of playing these frontliners are over for the most part.
Yeah.
If the Bears had their way, I don't think they'd play them at all. You know what I mean?
I agree. It's going to be interesting because I think the Panthers will play starters for a series or two, but I don't think that the Bears are going to play their starters for anything. And so now it's just a battle of second and third stringers. These preseason games are very difficult to bet on, aren't they?
Oh, they're absolutely. Last year I did have a winning year with them, but then, then I went right into that regular season, and we never looked back, you and me.
Oh, my God.
I mean, every week it was 4-0, 4-0, 4-0, 4-0, 3-1. That's how it went, folks. Honest to God, the first 3-4 weeks, right, Aldo?
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
My goodness.
And I kept telling Aldo what's going to happen. We're going to get beat up, and we didn't really ever get beat up. And, Mark, we're going to be back in the Sun-Times this year, too, and I hope to God that, I'd like to see, what I got an idea about, Aldo? I want to see. I'd like to get the top 10 handicappers in the country and have a league.
Ooh.
Have a league where you have the standings, or the top 10, or the guys that think they're the top 10 cappers in Chicago.
Yeah.
And have divisions that people could follow them in.
Let me see if I can work on something like that.
I might have to talk to Potash, and maybe the Bears Barroom could do something.
Yeah, exactly. I love that idea. Oh, my goodness. All
what
right.
I do, I'm an idea man.
You are an idea man. I mean,
once in a while. But anyway, you know what? I mean, I think that here's another thing. I don't think gambling, and there's a big meeting coming up at Illinois Gaming. We're going to get a better idea within the next week. In fact, there's a meeting tomorrow with the Illinois Gaming Board where we're going to have some questions answered. See, you don't get this in a lot of places, do you?
No, not at all.
You're going to have some questions answered about when we're going to be able to legally bet on sports. I'm hearing everything from September 1st to November to January. And, we'll find out. I think September 1st is a pipe dream, but we'll find out what the Illinois Gaming Board has to say about. Don't forget, folks, the people handling this are Illinois politicians who have screwed up everything else. So remember that. Right. Dear Lord, remember that. So we'll see what happens here. But if it starts September 1st, to me, it will be unbelievably quick. And I don't know if it will be finished, to be honest with you, because I think they got some stuff to do.
Oh, yeah. Don't bet on it is my advice.
Exactly.
It's not going to happen.
Stay away. Don't lose your man. Keep him on the line.
That's right. Hey, Greg Braggs, our beloved Greg Braggs says...
I love Greg. Tremendous job.
Oh, my gosh. He is the best. And I'll tell you what. He says that he appreciates your pick on the Panthers, but he's going to bet on the Bears because Tyler Braid, the third-string quarterback, has been really sharp at camp.
I'm going to bet on the Bears because he's a great Bear fan and a Bear ball watcher.
That's right.
That's why. He puts people in headlocks. He throws them around. He yells at people from the stands. And every time he turns, I'm surprised he hasn't painted his face orange and blue yet. That's next. but he's a tremendous Bear fan, tremendous guy. I love him. He's done a great job out there, like all you guys have. But seriously, I got to try to figure out. It looks too easy to me, and I don't have the system on this, Greg. So you might sure as well be right, but neither one of us should put a lot on the game.
There you go. Just put a couple fun dollars on it. And yeah, I did want to do a shout out for Greg. He's been on the Waddle and Sylvie show and just doing a great job on ESPN 1000. He's been promoting Bears Barroom. He's been just showing his passion. Just the way you just described it is perfect because that guy is such a passionate
First of all,
Chicago
when I see him, and I will run into him, if you've been out in the sun and sweating, you're not putting me in no damn bear hug, okay? I don't need my, all right? And I want to make sure, you got the deodorant on. He looked good. Yes. I mean, he looked like he was just starting the day.
Yeah, he wasn't. Trust me.
Oh, sorry.
I was nearby.
No, but all good fun and stuff I enjoy watching. Just tell everybody at Bears Barroom, and then, anytime I see that familiar Bears Barroom logo, which is starting to be, look it. I'll name some logos. Coca-Cola, Wendy's, McDonald's, Bears Barroom.
How about
That's what
that?
I'm going to tell you.
Thank you very much. That is awesome.
And you know what? When you see the Barroom, when I see it on Twitter, I always, for the most part, I miss very few Bear Barroom Twitters. Very few.
I know. You've been great in retweeting, which is a big reason.
We're reaching everybody, but everybody's doing it.
Yes.
That's how you win.
That's how you do it.
If 2 guys do it and 2 guys don't, you're screwed.
That's right.
If 10 guys do it and 10 guys are into it, you're not. It's going to work. That's why it's working now.
Indeed. And you know what's working right now? The Chicago White Sox, they're an 8-1.
What a segue.
How about that, huh? And
Good, you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, a couple of years now at least.
Yeah.
How about Tim Anderson, the Chicago White Sox shortstop? He comes back from an injury. He was out about a month or so, and he started off a little slow, but now he is just tearing it up, and coincidentally, the White Sox are winning with him back in the lineup. Not bad, huh?
No, not bad. I know who they're beating, and I watched them beat a bad Detroit team. I found it interesting that Steve Stone and Jason were talking about how Detroit Tiger fans are impatient with this rebuild, and they just started. And the last time they won was 2014 in the playoffs. The last time they were in the playoffs. And I just found it amusing. Because Sox fans are happy with the rebuild, and they haven't been in the playoffs since 2008, and they think everything's working. Then today I turn on the Mets game, and the Mets are playing Miami. And you know what Keith Hernandez says is one of the best announcers in the game? He says, all these teams that think their rebuilds are automatic and all the prospects are going to do well, like Miami and Chicago and other teams, there's no guarantee. I said, oh, my God. Oh, my God. If you said that here, you're fired.
Yeah. How about that?
You are fired.
Yep.
And you know what? He even said the same thing about his own Met team. He goes, look, we got pitching, but, we got a ways to go. There's no guarantees in Major League Baseball. And I said, well, that's different because in Chicago, the White Sox are going to be the first team where every prospect ends up in the Hall of Fame. Because that's what you hear. And then I hear this stuff. Do you know who just became? Boy, I'm rolling today. You can't stop me. You just get out of the way. Did you hear that the White Sox were interested in Noah Syndergaard?
No, I didn't hear that.
Well, Carmen DeFalco, God bless him, told me about this last week. Mm-hmm. And Carmen said, boy, Syndergaard's been hot lately. He's like 5-0.
Really?
With an ERA of 1.35. So I checked around. And the Mets wanted Lewis Robert for a potential Cy Young Award winner. And both teams said no.
Really?
But to me, a guy that's never played in a major league, we're going to need pitching sooner or later.
Yep.
And that would have been nice. Yeah. But you know what? The Sox are going to, outslug everybody because they're not going to play Detroit and Kansas City every week. And I heard Daryl Van Schoen today, Aldo, say, hey, guess what? The Sox are comfortably in third place. And I think Daryl was doing it tongue-in-cheek because, they're 19 back or something like that, and they're 12 games under 500 even after today. So We just got to hope that they decide to go pick up some pitching, pal.
Yeah, they really do need to make a trade to pick up some pitching because, you got these two young guys, Michael Kopech and forgetting the name of the other kid, another right-hander. Both of them
got sent down.
Yes, but both of these young pitching prospects in the minors, both are coming off Tommy John surgery, and so they're not going to be ready to go next season. Not at the major league level. They'll be pitching in the minors.
But you traded Robert for Syndergaard if he was if that trade, because I did hear yes they were interested, but you can ask about a guy and forget about it. So I'm not saying the Sox were really going after him or the Mets were really going after Robert. But would you make that trade?
I that's a tough one for me to pull the trigger on, but I would lean towards saying
because of all the years of major league experience with Robert.
Well, I've only seen highlights of this kid, but this guy, the ball bounces off his bat. I mean,
he does that in the minor leagues for every big prospect until they get upstairs.
That's true.
I'm not saying it's not going to happen. Moncada got better this year.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
There's no doubt. I think Jimenez is going to get better next year. Mm-hmm. But at some point, your team, your regular, you got to start picking up some pitching because they're not going to play Detroit. The Chicago White Sox. Let me read some stats off for everybody because I'm going to give everybody just an idea of basically what I'm trying to say here. The Chicago White Sox are 50-62. They're 19 and a half games out. They have a losing record on the road. They're only one under at home. But here's the distressing part. They're minus 116 in run differential. That's pitching, folks.
Yep.
Because the Sox have done a good job as far as hitting the baseball. Sure, they've hit some slumps, but that's pitching.
Yep.
And you know what? You got two teams like Minnesota and Cleveland there. Mm-hmm. And if you want to win, you're not going to beat them by out-hitting them. So I hope the White Sox do the right thing. And if that deal was offered, I would have taken it in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
because you have enough prospects.
Right. It might come up again in the offseason. Hart 4803, who is probably the biggest White Sox fan I know out there, he says, no way am I giving up on Robert. You can keep Syndergaard.
You're not giving up on Robert. You're picking up a stud.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
We're the same team that traded Chris Sale for nobody. Just think about that. Well, I mean, not nobody's, but for prospects. Now, some may pan out, some not. But how's the pitching going? Aldo just brought it up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
White Sox fans have to wake up. You got to wake up, folks. You got to. I have never seen such complacency. We haven't been in the playoffs since 2008. I'm going to stick around for this prospect, and I'm going to wait for this other prospect. Oh, well, I wouldn't give up on Robert. You only seen him on tape, and you see him playing in the minors.
Harp
he may
is
turn
saying
out to be the biggest thing in baseball history. But I do know this. This kid Syndergaard's good.
He's 30 years old.
You know what? The Mets aren't going to get rid of him because the Mets picked up Stroman, Syndergaard, they have DeGrom, they have Matz.
Right.
They have pitching. And I would ask you this, Aldo. If we had the Mets pitching next year with the team we have, don't we challenge for the American League?
Yes, definitely. We're challenged. We're definitely in the.
But we don't want pitching. We want Louis Robert or Louis Robert.
Well,
come on.
This kid is good.
When we win if we have DeGrom, Matz, Stroman, and Syndergaard, I'd take my chances in our division. Mm-hmm. With the team we have now, just give us that pitching. But we don't have pitching. We have one guy. And you know what? Nova's doing better. He's picking it up a little bit, so maybe he'll be okay. But the other guys are mysteries.
Yeah, it's you bring up an interesting point, but you still haven't convinced Hart 4803. He says Syndergaard is 30 years old, and he'd rather go with the youth program, and that's for me.
How many 22-year-olds open up a daycare center if you want to be around kids? Harp's Daycare Center. Harp's Daycare Center. You want kids? Where all the young White Sox prospects come and eat grapes with you. I don't know what you want.
I love you, Mike North. All right, let's talk about the Cubs. They are, let's see, last time I looked, they were in the 7th inning and had a huge lead, and I'm trying to get my scoreboard refreshed.
I got it. I'll get it. I got it up right now. Right now, I'll give you all the scores. You want to hear me read all the scores in Major League Baseball, ladies and gentlemen?
Let's do it.
I'll tell you what. First of all, the Oakland A's are getting their royal arses kicked by the Cubs 10-1.
Nice.
And, I starting it all off, Baez to me is in the top 5 in clutch hitting.
Yes.
The last 3 weeks, every time I turn on the Cubs, this guy's getting a big hit. Blank got a big hit today. They're all on all cylinders. So, I think the guy you got to worry about is Lester. I said this last week.
Yeah.
I mean, John Lester always does this. And somebody wrote, well, he usually has a day like this, but he's had 2 bad days in a row. In 9 innings, he's given up 16 runs, and his ERA is 15.
Wow.
So you got to hope next time. I think he's a grinder. But I would ask you this, Aldo. I love Cub fans arguing with me today. Oh, he'll be all right. He'll be all right. And then Lester comes out and says, I suck, and I'm 4th, maybe best starting pitcher. So who are you going to believe? The Cub fans who say he's going to be all right, or John Lester who says right now, I'm the 4th best pitcher?
Yep. Yeah, that's very...
And who would you start? If there's a wild card game, are you starting John Lester?
No.
What, you sure? You got Cole Hamels. You got...
I think Yu Darvish is throwing the best right now out of the starters. Yu Darvish, if the playoff game was tomorrow, I got to start Yu Darvish just because his stuff is the best on the team right now.
Could you do me a quick favor, real quick? Look up his playoff record, just real quick. Just look it up because I don't want to speak on him because he's been pitching outstanding in July. Okay, his ERA in his last 4 starts up until his last start was 2.09. This is off the top of my head, folks. That's what I do.
You're amazing.
And go ahead, tell me what's been going on.
All right, postseason pitching. Yu Darvish has a record of where's the record of? Wait a minute. 2-4 record with an ERA of 5.81. He started 6 games.
Oh, he's my guy. For a wild card game, here's what I would do. Who would you start, though? You got Quintana, you got Lester, you got Hamels.
Quintana.
You know what? You got a bunch. You got Darvish. He is right now pitching like your ace. You know what I would do? If I have to win one game, I'd pitch each guy 2 innings.
Oh, I like that idea. That's the new innovative approach towards.
I would start look. Tampa does it a lot. A few teams are doing it with the opener and all this BS. Joe Torre did the same thing back in the day, where he ignored his bullpen, if you folks remember, and he'd bring in Mike Mussina, from the bullpen if it was, as a relief pitcher. I'd love to see. I'd probably start Quintana first, then I'd go to Lester. Because he did middle relief already.
Right.
Then I would go to Hamels, and then in the 7th, I'd go to Darvish. Then I'd go to Hamels in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. 4 different starters. What do you think, Aldo?
I love that approach, and a lot of people are saying that's where Major League Baseball is headed. Where we're not going to have the traditional, starting pitching going 6, 7, 8, 9 innings. You're going to have these pitchers pitching 2, 3 innings, and it's going to be a bullpen game throughout. It's an interesting idea, and I think a great idea for at least a postseason game. Absolutely.
If it's a wild card, only if it's a wild card, you start off with Quintana, then you go to Lester, then you go to Darvish, then you go to Hamels. 2, 2, 2, and 2. And then for the last inning, if Kimbrel's back, you have to go to Kimbrel, and then you're done. You move on to the next round.
Well, and that was my next...
By hitting those guys 2 innings, you don't get a second time around against any of them.
Right, and that was my next topic is this injury situation with the Cubs. Kimbrel hurt, Kinsler hurt. This team has been struggling with injuries all season long. It almost seems like they're snake bitten. You, as a professional gambler, how concerned are you with these injuries in the Chicago Cubs?
Well, I'm very concerned because I had the Cubs yesterday. It was 8-0. I went to the bathroom. I came back. Lester looked like he'd been walking in the desert for 2 days. He was exhausted. They were pounding the living daylights out of them. Before I knew it was 8-0. There was no, I lost. I won the Sox game on Vegas scores and odds, but I could have, today's a rare day because the Sox and Cubs both have won today. The Cubs just knocked their game down. That's a rare day when that happens, folks, so enjoy it.
Mike, it always made me angry when Major League Baseball would schedule both the Cubs and the Sox at the same time for a day game. Does that make any sense to you?
Well, here's what I would say. Very rarely back in the day did they play in town at the same time.
Right.
You never saw that.
Right.
I remember Jack Brickhouse did, it was one day where they had a simulcast, WGN, because you only had 5 channels.
Right.
And the Sox and Cubs both played at home, and they had Brickhouse and I think it was Vince Lloyd at one place, and they had Lloyd Pettit at somebody else at Sox Park. Only once. Now they play at the same time sometimes every year at home and other things. So, yeah, it does bother me a little bit, but I know now there's so many teams. They don't even get hardly any off days anymore. A lot of these guys are running on fumes. And I think the main concern for the Cubs is what are they doing on the road that is making them one of the worst teams in baseball on the road? And the only thing I can figure is they're getting to bed earlier. Because when they're at home, like today, they're unbelievable. But when they go on the road, they're a different ball club.
Yeah, that's got to be figured out and figured out pronto because it's really, really hurting this team. Now, before we close the show, we promoted a game that we're going to play, and we got to get it done because our fans are clamoring for it. Back when you worked at The Score, one of the many, many, many things that you were famous for, and a very controversial thing too.
Can you believe that? I got in trouble for wanting to hug people. The media beat me up for trying to hug people. Okay,
yeah,
right?
I don't get it either. I don't get it.
They went after me. You think it's bad now? Let me tell you something. They went after me. You want to talk about North Derangement Syndrome? There's still people that are suffering from it today.
That is hilarious.
Well, he's hugging black people. How dare he?
That was the first one. It was called Hug a Black Day, and then you followed that up with Hug a Jew Day, and then people.
I had like I think we did 3 or 4 of them, and they were tremendously successful. People came to the station. They got all sorts of gifts and prizes. We had for Hug a Black Day soul food, and and then the next thing I know, Operation Push is on my ass. Everybody from the newspapers, all the people that didn't like me because I changed the game, they were out, and The Score changed the game. All of us guys, the 27 Yankees, and they're beating us up. We're hugging people. And by the way, my partner was Dan Jiggets, and I worked for the Chicago Defender.
Yeah,
figure that one out. The all black paper. Right. I was the only pasty boy to ever walk in that building and get paid.
That's remarkable. That is remarkable.
Right? And when that happened, nobody wrote about it.
Yeah.
Nobody. Because it ruined the narrative.
That's right. It ruined the narrative. You're absolutely right.
So who do you want me to hug? You want me to pick out people I want to hug?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and pick out, let's do 3 of them. Pick out 3 people you want to give a hug to.
All right. The first group of people I want to give a hug to, okay, are the people, and I'm going to just say it, are the people in Chicago and in El Paso and in Dayton and everybody in America who suffers from somebody losing somebody to gun violence or to any violence, and to all the cities, not just, where we have these terrible shootings,
right,
but all the cities that go through this on a nightly basis. Last week in Chicago, at the same time as the El Paso shooting, which was horrendous, and then the Dayton shooting, which was horrendous, we lost 7 people and had 46 wounded, okay? And to this date, we have, so many shooting victims, so many murders. So I just want to say, you know what? Let's everybody try to take a step back, and I want to give everybody a big Mike North, America, and Chicago hug.
Well done, Mike North. That's a great one to start things off with. Who's your next hug going to?
the guy at the gun shop I'm buying a gun from to protect myself. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All kidding aside.
That's a good
the
point.
second people, I want to give a hug out to the Sox broadcasting team of Jason Benetti, I think that's how you pronounce, and Steve Stone. And, Stoney and I have had our little disagreements, but I've been watching them. They sound good. Stoney and I had a little squabble last year. I want to give him a hug because I do like Steve Stone. Steve Stone and I've been with Stoney's company, but I understand if he's mad at me, but you know what? It's about forgiveness. I just want to say I want to hug you. That's it. Number 2.
I love it. And you know what? I love Jason Benetti calling those White Sox games. He is really growing on me. I think he's an
Jason
excellent.
gets a little corny sometimes, but you know what?
Yeah.
They keep the thing moving. The thing I like about him is they're trying different things. The other night they were on a carousel. That would have never happened 3 years ago. I ain't getting on I can hear Hawk now. No way I'm getting on no damn carousel, So they do a good job. And number 3, I want to give it out to the bar room for everybody that's doing great at training camp. To
Greg Braggs
and to all the shows. To Glenn Braggs, name all the guys.
Greg Braggs, who, by the way, says he knows he's not getting a hug from you because of his sweaty tank top.
You know what? From a distance. But I tell you what, though.
That's right.
The thing I love about Glenn is he's got enthusiasm. That's what you need, and so do the rest of the Bears. Although I got to be honest with you, that picture you guys took at the bar,
Yes.
it looked like a picture of people getting ready to go to the electric chair. I think was it the end of the night?
It was the end of the afternoon. That's what it was.
I know your eyes. You're trying to look cool, and you're saying, I got to get out of here. No, all the guys at Bears Bar Room and all the ladies, a big hug to everybody.
Yeah.
And keep going. Follow us at Bears Bar Room.
There you go.
On Twitter, folks, because we're growing. We're getting up to, what do we got right now, Aldo, on Twitter?
We've got 9,047 followers on Twitter. Not bad. Not bad at all.
We started, I remember a year ago, we were at 48, so everybody's done a great job promoting it. But it's also the content. It's also your guides. So big hug to everybody at Bears Power.
Well done, Mike. Mike, this has been another fun hour. We went an hour and 7 minutes. It's been a ton of fun. We've got a special Bears 100 Proof tomorrow. We're going to be on during halftime of the preseason game. It'll be.
I heard about that. You're going to be live and stuff.
Yeah, we're going to be live. And
I love that. You know what? I'll give it a listen. Make sure everybody give it a listen because this is something that you get instant analysis. If Joni and Thayer say something, or you're watching on TV and you want to get analysis, listen to the Bar Room and they'll tell you the scoop.
That's right. We will definitely tell you the scoop. We'll tell you like it is, and we're expecting big things out of the Chicago Bears, but we will be fair and balanced, and we'll point out what doesn't work, and we'll do it at the half of the Chicago Bears Carolina Panthers preseason game right here on our Mixlr.com channel. That's MIXLR.com. And then make sure you follow Vegas Scores and Odds Sports.com and their Twitter channel. Just follow Mike's Twitter account, North to North, at North to North. Follow him. He's always retweeting stuff from Vegas Scores and Odds and giving you the latest on sports gambling tips and so forth. Mike, say goodbye to your friends.
Love y'all. Had a great time today, man. It's awesome to be with. Next week I'll be in the studio with Aldo. I'll be shooting out there, so we'll have a good time too. Thanks, Aldo. So long, everybody.